Good day. Welcome again to another edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Welcome to our podcast. If you'd like to make a comment or a concern or a suggestion about a future show, please feel free to email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. Visit the website, jewishsacredaging.com. And if you want to, go to the Facebook page, Jewish Sacred Aging, and like us or whatever you do on social media. It'd be greatly appreciated. As you know, the major focus of our podcast is to really explore some of the implications of longevity on our families, ourselves, and on the general Jewish community. So we have a guest today that's going to help us explore some aspects of that. And we're very, very pleased and honored to welcome Shel Israel, author, a tech expert, to our show today. And Shel is coming to us, I think, from the beautiful state of Florida, on the West Coast. First, let me ask you, first of all, you're well and you're safe as a result of all the storms from a couple of months ago?
Fortunately, we were 2 miles in.
Oh, okay.
Had we been 1 mile in, we would have been vulnerable. Our best friends down here had a lovely place on Clam Bayou. They're now entering their second month of homelessness.
Yeah.
But they have lots of friends, but it was devastating.
So, Shel, I really appreciate you joining us. Your background is you're an author, published many, many books, a lot of it dealing with technology, the impact of technology on our lives. And one of the works that I did in doing some research, that you were complimented as always being a trendsetter and the ability to spot trends before they are even there, or that the public really understands them. So one of the trends that we deal with all the time in the work of Jewish Sacred Aging, it's not a trend, it's a reality, and that is the growing older adult population in the United States. And so one of the things I want to start right away with is getting your take on this dichotomy, as we talk about sometimes in our work, between growing older and getting older. The difference being, some people just get older. They age, they are there. Some people grow older. They constantly evolve. They're constantly searching. They're the activists. They're the people, going back, giving back to society, going back, taking more classes at the local junior college or the university. They're the ones who are actively involved with their grandchildren. They're the ones who perhaps are on the cruise, on an adventure travel. I've always wanted to climb Machu Picchu, so we're going. And I'm sure we probably know people who are doing this. And they are saying, as long as I have my health, I'm continuing to grow as a human being, as opposed to just say, well, I'm just content to be. So that's how I'm looking at this dichotomy between growing older and getting older. And so from your perspective, as someone who is beginning to look at this stage, what's your take on this? How do you respond to that?
There are two trends that have interested me for a very long time. One is aging and the other is technology. They're converging a great deal. I did some quick research this morning in preparation for this interview and read several times about how old people have trouble understanding technology such as cell phones, to which I respond, we invented them. I was there. We were in Silicon Valley. Our generation created the digital revolution that we have. How that impacts us as senior citizens, I have to answer on a personal level that I'm 80. I know I don't look a day over 37, but I'm 80, and from the inside, I certainly feel it, and I have many of the maladies that people my age would have. Yet I'm current, I'm well informed. I hike 10 miles a week. I do one 10-miler every week. And I can tell you all sort of other things which 10 years ago would be remarkable. And today I hike with people my age and a couple of years older. We have used technology and our access to knowledge to age. I'm not quite sure the right word. We're better informed, we're more current, we're less adverse to technology than people 10 years ago were when they turned 80.
The impact of the impact of the pandemic really was a jump start to a lot of our generation, right? Because that was the only way we could see our grandchildren. It was the only way we could continue to get some adult education. For many people in the Jewish community, the only way they could get to services or attend a shiva. All my colleagues, me included, did shiva minions online, did funerals online. So really, did it not just push the technology revolution or the marriage or the linkage between technology and aging? It really jump-started it. Is that correct?
I would say vastly accelerated it. And it might be because when all this started, I lived in Silicon Valley. And a lot of the people who were my friends then would later get on to be too rich and famous to be my close personal friends and hang out with me on a Tuesday night anymore. But from the center, it looks like I and my peers who came of age in the 60s, which was a time of enormous anti-war and student unrest, movement towards civil rights. My generation started all that. And by now we would be sitting around in rocking chairs talking about back in my day. But there's been a continuum that I think is spurred almost completely by personal digital technology. What grandparents do to have conversations with their grandchildren and even great-grandchildren now is remarkable. In researching this 2 or 3 times, I read how older people are behind in technology, which makes me say what I said a few minutes ago. We invented the stuff.
I mean,
did I answer the question, or did I just read?
No, because we're the same age. So the idea, I don't know any of my peers who are not very, very comfortable now with their computer, with going on Zoom, with using their cell phone to do everything, even getting into AI and whatever, Chat GPT, whatever it's called. But more and more comes. Part of it is because we grew up with it a little bit more than we even thought. B, as you said, our generation created it, and C, also because a lot of us, with our grandchildren and our children, that was a common denominator. Is one of the ways we talk with each other, not to each other, but with each other. I'd like to ask you about your take on this growth industry of robotics. Some of the research that I've done, and we've had some podcasts with some of the people in Israel, actually, who are in the forefront of this revolution. But there seems to be a growth industry here using technology to support caregiving with so many people who are adult children not living where their parents are. The use of robotics to actually program when you take your medication, to have a conversation with somebody. This is just beginning. As a person who's very familiar with Silicon Valley and tech, where do you see this? Where do you see this going?
There was a time when the automobile was a horseless carriage and it freaked people out. The New York Times wrote an editorial about why they should be banned from Central Park. Now they're struggling to keep them in Central Park because of all those cars. Technology comes along and it disrupts and it changes. Those who steadfastly oppose it and get on their pedestals and talk about its evils and its side effects are trying to do the equivalent of punching a tidal wave as it comes into shore. You're going to get very wet. You're not going to succeed. The technology that has been so disruptive is now part of everyday lives. It was already trending in that direction when we got hit with this tragic pandemic, but suddenly it was the only way we could keep in touch safely. It was the only way we could keep current. It was the only way we could find out about new technology that would make our lives either more fun or more productive. So I wish only that I could live 50 years more, if only I could just look back to how primitive the times we are in now. You mentioned AI, and AI is just at the beginning of a fundamental change in the relationship between humans and their machine, the digital machines.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because there's a fear factor. They're going to take over, and the machines in 50, they're going to be able to think for themselves. And I know this goes with every new technological advance. There's a tremendous amount of fear because we may not understand it. But you speak this language fluently, and how do you see artificial intelligence enhancing our life as we grow older?
I just finished reading a book, admitted it's by a friend of mine. It's called by J.D. Laska, and it's called The Golden Relic. And it describes what he calls an NAI. You might call a software robot, but it is something you see in the room with you, but you can put your hand right through it because it isn't really there. But it has AI well enough to understand how you think and to respond to you as a human would to a human. I find it incredible to compare the unique relationship many of us have with our pets to this combination of algorithms and digital ones and O's that is AI. The AI seems to know who we are as individuals, what we want, and it knows how to help us. No, it doesn't know that. It doesn't feel that, but it can be programmed I have to watch my wording in case some digitally advanced people are here, but it seems to be our best, or it will soon seem to be our best friend, the one that understands us better than our dog does. When you and I first started that, it didn't understand us as well as our goldfish did. But it's becoming increasingly humanized to the point where we start talking about our technology as a he or she and not an it. And we become attached to it now. There's an emotional, I was going to say interaction, but it's in one direction. It just feels like it's an interaction. The other day, actually it was yesterday, somebody wrote on Facebook that their avatar is their new best friend.
Right. I saw that. Yes.
Yeah, and it is. My avatar knows me better than my dog does. My avatar knows my medical history, my medical issues. It knows what I remember, or seems to. It isn't really doing that, but its processor gives me that feeling, so much so that mine has a female voice, so I call it a she. I could push a button and make it a he.
No. I've actually seen a couple in the recent weeks newspaper. I think it was something in the Times too, in November, that how people are creating these avatars literally creating an image that they become very, very close with. I can't remember where I saw, but I know they had pictures of different avatars that different people created, and on one level it's right out of, it's kind of freaky, on another level it's wow. The implication of which, given a society of isolation and loneliness, especially so many older adults who live alone and are isolated, there's a possibility, and I'm just brainstorming here, that you could create avatars to be with people in isolation, in nursing homes, in skilled nursing, who exist really, they're rarely visited sometimes. So as I'm saying, this is really the beginning, right, of what could be 25, 35, 45, 50 years from now, a whole different revolution in the type of relationships we have, which begs the question, and I'm sure you've dealt with this in your tech stuff, is technology enhancing community and relationships, or putting barriers into community?
I would overwhelmingly go for it brings people closer together. It does it not only by geography, which is how we're accustomed to doing it, but by shared interests, whether they be religious, political, scientific, whether you're planning to save the world or destroy it. All that technology is there. It isn't good, it isn't evil. It's like a hammer. A hammer can be used to build a house or bludgeon a spouse. It's how you use these tools.
Right.
And tools themselves are capable of doing great harm and great good.
Yeah, I always talk to people about the idea that technology is in essence neutral. It's what you choose.
Yes.
It's what we choose to do with it. And Jewishly, with the concept of the enhancement of the value of human choice, that you can, what you choose to do creates yourself, creates your world, and stays with you. It's up to you. So again, there's a moral, religious, ethical component to technology of how are you going to educate for choice? And this is a real struggle right now. And I don't have any answers, but I know that there's an implication, as an opportunity in schools to really talk about, this is how you can be educated for making choices that enhance life, save life, as opposed to negating life, because that technology exists and changes rapidly. I remember reading a couple of years ago in one of the Tom Friedman books, I think is The Earth is Flat, what he wrote, that every 6 months technology changes. Is that a correct statement?
It was. I don't know how you could calculate it now. Also, I think we're coming to the end of the current wave of radical evolution. A great deal has happened in the last 50 years. And in the next 50 years, it's going to be refined, and it's going to become like the phone, an everyday item. I was going to say the telephone and then the cell phone. But things come in, they disrupt. They change us from doing what we always did. Why do we go along with it? Because it's better, faster, cheaper. It gives us access to more. The reasons are very, very monumental, and very few people are foolish enough to deny that. Even people, my wife is a very late adopter. She's proud of telling our grandchildren that they don't even know what the term late adopter means. But something happens and we know it's going to change us. We either embrace it or resist it. But either way, our lives are going to change whether we like it or not. I choose to embrace it, and many of my friends at our age choose not to go on. I lost a few friends who didn't even like the internet because there was an invasion on their privacy. I still don't understand how, but that's how they felt. And consequently, without a determined decision, we went our separate ways and we're no longer friends. Wow. I don't know how they're doing. They don't know how I'm doing.
So your interest with aging and technology and aging, where is that taking you now? What do you want to do with this next chapter in your growth?
In my growth, I will struggle not to be left behind. But every time something new and different comes along, immersive headsets, I find part of me resisting it because I'm happy with things the way they are. And if I hadn't spent all those years in Silicon Valley following President Clinton's advice about don't stop thinking about tomorrow, I probably would have turned my back, as many of my then closest friends did. Another way it changes me is I'm used to being the oldest guy in the room or online in the conversation. And this will not improve over time. And someday somebody younger than me will have that distinction. There are other sliding scales, people living older and being productive for longer periods of time. I'm thankful that I can still do it at 80, and I'll be more than thankful if I'm still doing it at 81.
Or
we'll worry about 90 later.
Right. I mean, 85 or 90 or 95.
If it wasn't for technology, you and I would not be even aware of each other's existence. We would not be having this conversation. We would not be having all those people out there listening to us, some of us finding us boring, some of us finding us valuable. Technology is what the telephone once was, only many, many times, amplified by many, many times. Phone was what the Morse code, what telegraph, I forgot what it was called, was. And there will be something new. And the new thing is, in my imagination, I don't know if there's technology heading this way, you and I would be having this conversation. All those people out there and there would be watching us, except we'd all feel like we're in one room. And the room would be infinite with thousands of people, or in our case, tens of people. But technology is going to make geography irrelevant. I wrote that a long time ago, and it's on track to doing it. Think of what the world would be like if you didn't have a phone. Think of what the world would be like if you didn't have movies. Of all these things that have come along that we just take for granted, it's just part of daily lives. Using it isn't a thing for young people or old people. It's just what we do to communicate with others, to learn, to memorize, to be entertained. It's all moved to digital technology. Digital technology runs to, pardon the religious implication, God knows where. It is going everywhere. Is it dangerous? You bet it is. Is it life-saving? You bet it is. Same as so many other innovations before it.
Do you have any fear? Do you have any fear, or maybe the better word is concern? This is a semi-political statement.
Don't get me started.
No, that I'm trying to measure my words. Do you have any fear or concern that given the new administration, that there will be a backlash against the expansion of technology based upon a concern about privacy?
I haven't thought about it before, but as you ask it now, yeah, I would have that concern. I need to make clear when we get into the dangers, the positives and negatives. Rifles and guns were invented so that people could eat more easily, that they wouldn't starve when their arrow missed the deer as it ran by. And all of these things that we're discussing began to do good, to do something necessary, to make life easier, to make our children less hungry. But others come along and think they can do other things. They can take your property away from you. They can take the life away from their enemies. And then the response is always to build something to counteract that, which will do more damage to the other side. And that form of escalation, some call it a Cold War, has been going on for before you and I were born, and that's a long, long time ago.
So, it goes back to what you were alluding to, what we were talking about before. As our generation continues to grow and uses technology and is very comfortable with using technology, it goes back to the idea that in the future, the education for choice and how we can make technological choices that enhance life as opposed to destroy life becomes even more important. And I guess even more important to teach our children and grandchildren who, and especially our grandchildren with whom they're raised with it. They're very comfortable with it. There's no problem. But to also let them understand that there's tremendous potential here for both good and evil. It is a very moral religious concern because it goes back Jewishly to, that text in Deuteronomy of you're going to have to make choices. And you can have blessing or a curse, you can have life or death, but make choices that enhance life so that people can live better and live longer and healthier. But the choice is really up to us, isn't it? And so that raises this to a real moral, ethical level of how we educate our community to the blessings or curses of technology. So, and in your work, in your writings, in your research, moving forward, how do you see this idea of choice?
I think how choice and humans have interacted has remained the same. All that's changed is the technology, the tools we use.
So
from tom-toms to live interaction, live virtually free interaction with you hundreds of miles away from them.
And how has that choice remained the same?
We can communicate with more people further away than we ever have. And we're using different tools to communicate. But the way you and I interact right now is very similar to how we would be if we were sitting in the same room drinking coffee together.
Yeah.
We remain the same. The tools change, but people don't get better or worse or more virtuous or evil because of these tools. Somebody's going to weaponize this. Right now, there are people in America, I'll use an old word that I love, being hornswoggled by video chat online. It happens all the time, as are people feeling like their problems are being solved, their loneliness is being healed, their entertainment is being fulfilled, their knowledge of this certain period in the Mesopotamian era is all there right at our fingertips. Everything that we could have gotten out of all the libraries we ever saw is right at our fingertips, and that's just a percentage of what is there. Our generation, this is a marvel. For my grandchildren, this is a yawn. They knew this in kindergarten.
And that is one of the things I think our generation is still getting used to. The fact that we take a look at the grandchildren and see, like you said, it is the young. That's just part of who we are. It's part of who we are, and in that sense, it's a good place to just to let people be. That the choice in all of this rests still with us. There's no superpower it really rests with us. And once again, we're going to see whether we choose blessing or curse or life or death or good or evil. But like you said, it's neutral. It's up to us. It's going to be up to us. And I think that's the amazing thing about this conversation of technology and aging. That same technology right now is being used in hospitals to save a human life. That 10 years ago wouldn't have been possible. And some of that same technology could be used to destroy human life.
Recently, I'm not going to go into details, but I have a medical condition that is not unusual in people of my age. And before I went in to see my doctor, once I saw the test results online, I sat there and for 20 minutes, I learned more than I could have learned in 5 years in a library when I was 30 years old. My access to information about myself, my world, the people I care about, the technologies, my business interests, all of them are right there at our fingertips. And I think my last book might be a speculation on what this is going to be like 50 years from now. But I can't do it without it just feeling like sci-fi. And the sci-fi masters have already done it. So,
well, good luck with that book. Good luck with that book.
Thank you.
And stay healthy. Good luck with your health.
I'll do my very best. I
That's
promise.
the most important thing. Yeah, amen. Amen. We are at an age where you just, as they say, you never know. And just take care. So, Shel, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah, somebody once said that. I think I remember that. It was, and still one of the best shows around. Not only, never mind. Anyway, the TV was good and the music was better. That's for sure.
Yeah, but color was better and digital
That's
was better.
correct. That is correct.
Paying $2 to get rid of the commercials was really worth it.
That is very true. So, Shel, thank you very much. You take care of yourself and stay healthy and stay well. And to all of you, thank you very much for joining us on today's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. Again, if you'd like to touch base with us, feel free to email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. We'd appreciate your comments. On the website, there's a donate button, and if you feel so inclined to help support our work, and if you'd like to become a sponsor for some of these shows, also just email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. A big shout out to our producer, Steve Lubetkin, because our shows are produced at the studios of Lubetkin Media Companies in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. To all of you, thank you again for joining us. Until we see each other again, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy, be kind to one another. Shalom.